Just seeing who I got in here. Okay, so let's start here. I always want to start here, especially on a Monday. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so check out right here, fifth and first. I'm just going to put first at the top. What I did, if you go to my NTI stuff, my NTI stuff is I changed the weeks. I put the current week's always going to be the one on top. So this is what we're going to be doing this week. Next week, or last week, I put it underneath it. Just so you know, I put it real big so you could see it. So today, we start at 1 p.m. I hope you all liked that. We're going to go over the test review. And if we have time, we're going to go over the quiz 7374. 75 is due this evening. I will have a 75 question answer session at 6 p.m. tonight. If y'all want to come back for that, if I don't get your questions answered now. Okay. So we're doing a review today. We're having our test tomorrow. Our test tomorrow is going to be on MyOpen Math. It's going to be multiple choice. Just like the stuff we normally have on MyOpen Math. And then we're going to jump into 8-1. And I'm not really sure how long 8-1 takes. I just put it on here like this. We may change it. It kind of depends on how long it goes. So everybody okay with this? Understand what we got going on this week?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm just going to jump over here and start looking at this review. Okay. And what I thought I would do is, well, I'm going to tell you right now, you should have a copy of this. I put a copy out there. And right now, 3 and 4, I am crossing off. Okay. Because we didn't really talk about that. That was one of the things we gave up. Now, had we been in school, we would have done 3 and 4. But Miss Keith and I decided that we're going to take a little pity on you all. So right away, 3 and 4, just cross them out. We're not going to do them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here and I'm going to do all the odd ones. Okay. And then any of the even ones you want me to come back and do, I'll be glad to do it. Okay. So the very first one I see on here, I have a problem with. It says find the value of this. Well, they don't match. So I can't go about putting them, like what the first thing I was going to do is I was going to come up here to this one and say log base 3 of 4 squared minus, as soon as I saw that ln, something's funky here. So the only way you can really do this problem, honestly, is let me see if I've got my calculator. Oop, I got somebody's wanting to come in. It's Kevin. Let me bring my calculator up. And really the only way to do this is put in your calculator. So I'm going to show you how to do that. There's a nice button on here. I taught you guys the change of base thing. But there's a button on these calculators that you can use that you don't have to worry about that. It lets you put whatever base in there you want. So we're patiently waiting. Okay. So what I'm going to do right here, I'm going to clear out what's in there. I'm going to quit the graph. And I'm just going to type in, I'm going to hit alpha. I think it's alpha window. I never can remember. Yeah, alpha window number 5. If you look at it, all you got to do is type in. You can type it in just like you have it up here if you want to. So let's just type it in just like as if I didn't write this red line. I'm going to say 2, alpha window number 5, log base 3 of 4. And then once I come out of the parentheses, it's like it's stopped. That's like a period at the end of that. I'm just going to say minus the ln of 3. And it'll give it to you like that because there's really no way that I can take these two and put them together. You know, they're not the same bases. If this was an ln or if this was a log base 3, then I could condense them. But this I cannot. So basically, I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to go to 3 decimals. It doesn't tell me to. That's usually what we do in this class. So this is just strictly putting in the calculator. Calculator. That looks weird, but it's calculator. So if you have one like this, everybody right now should have a TI-84 that they can use because I've put that out there where you can put it on your Chromebook or your desktop or your phone or whatever. TI has that available right now. So questions on that one. Now I'm going to roll on down. I'm going to come down here to number 5. Now on number 5, it says find the value of 20 log base 25 of 12. And again, there's no way I can make 25 and this match. Because if I wanted like this to be a 25, I don't know what I would multiply 25 to get 12. So I'm going to go right back to this calculator. Alpha window, number 5, log 25 of 12. And I got my answer, 0.772. So let me come right here. And beside it again, I'm going to put calculator. I'm sure eventually I'll get to somewhere I have to not use my calculator. I can't spell with it. I always want to make that L-T. Oh, now it's that. Okay, let me go here. Okay, now let's look at number 7. On number 7, we're going to do this without a calculator. What we have to do on number 7, you have to get the E and the ln right beside each other with nothing in between them. So this is the same thing as E ln of 3 to the negative 2. Once you get nothing in between them, the E and the ln are reciprocals of each other. They cancel each other out. And my answer is 3 to the negative 2. That's the same thing as 1 over 3 squared. And that's the same thing as 1 over 9. So I don't know how it would look on the test. I just want to give you all the 3 options of the answer, what it would look like. Okay. So I'm going to keep rolling on the odds unless you stop me. And if you need to stop me, if there's one you want to look at, I'm glad to stop and go back and look at it. Okay, but we're just looking at odds right now. If I come down, what did I just do? Just did 9. No, I didn't do 9. Okay, 9's down here. I thought I missed something. Okay, let's take a look at 9. On 9, it wants us to solve it. On 9, I'm going to say that's a minus sign, that's a plus sign. It's really kind of hard to tell on this. So I want to make this a plus. I want to make that a minus. That's a minus right there. So they're the same logs. In log land, if you have the same bases, a minus sign means division. Okay. Question for me? Now we got to get rid of the log. To get rid of the log, we have to take and exponentiate both sides. What that means is this, whatever number is right here, I'm going to say 2 to the log base 2 of x plus 2 over x minus 1 equals 2 cubed. So everything that was down in the normal spot, I have moved up into the exponents. And what that does for me, if these two are the same, the argument and the base are the same, again, they undo each other, and I have x plus 2 over x minus 1 equals, and 2 cubed is 8. If it helps, you can put a 1 under it, and you're going to cross multiply. X plus 2 times 1 equals x minus 1 times 8. Now, to get the answer, you're looking for x equals. It doesn't really matter which side the x is on. I like the x to be positive. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides, and I'm going to add 8 to both sides. If I do that, that guy's gone. 10 equals 7x. That guy's gone. Divide both sides by 7, and your answer is 10 over 7.
Mr. Shea,
Yes.
can you go up really quick?
Which one?
That one. Number 7.
Uh-huh.
So can you never put the, like, you know how you put the, you move the number to the top?
Uh-huh.
Can you never move a letter? Or, like, is that a rule?
I mean, like, if these were all variables and you had an x, like if I had e to the x ln of 3, instead of the negative 2, I could take that, and that could be, you can always move it up. E to the ln of 3 to the x power, then those would cancel out, and I have 3 to the x. Typically, you're not going to see that, but it's allowable. You can do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions for me? The thing about down here, it all depends on what that number was. If that number was a 7, that number and that number would be a 7. If that number was a 40,922, both of these would be 40,922. Those two numbers have to match. We're like cheating the system here, getting it easier for us. All this down here, that's algebra 1 stuff. This is the pre-cal right here. Okay, I'm going to jump over to the next page and look at 11. Now check it in 11 in exact form. That means you don't want to, you can't really use your calculator because your calculator gives it to you in decimal form. So it even tells you with an ln. So if I look at this problem, I want to find out what x is. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate the e term. So I have 3e to the 3x minus 2 equals 10 minus 7 is 3. Now I got to divide both sides by 3. So you always have to plus or minus first, like we minus the 7 first, and then you divide by the number in front. So if I bring this up here, I end up with e to the 3x minus 2 equals 1. To get rid of the e, I have to ln both sides. And remember, as long as you do the same thing to both sides, you're fine. Ln and e undo each other. We have 3x minus 2. The ln of 1, write this down somewhere so you have it tomorrow. Ln of 1, and I've told it to you before, equals 0. You can put in your calculator and see if you know it just a little bit faster. Add the 2 to both sides, and finally divide by the 3. And that would be your answer for number 11. Okay?
Where's this paper at?
I believe I put it right there.
All right.
Okay. And if you click on it, you just click on that and it'll pop it up for you. Okay. So let's take a look at 13 now. On 13, we have to condense. So on 13, we have 3 pieces. We want to get down to 1 piece. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put any numbers out front up top. Take the 2 and put it up top. And the z doesn't have anything, so I'm okay. So now I'm going to have the ln. I have x to the 1/2. It's a minus sign. So minus sign is just a big division symbol. And then the minus sign again. And that would be the condensed form of 13.
If there's 2 minus signs, shouldn't that be dividing and then multiplying?
No, you just, it's almost like they're periods and sentences, like they're individual sentences. Now, as long as there's no weird parentheses or anything, it's like you got this on top, so it had a plus in front of it. Anything that has a minus just drops to the bottom. You can think of it like this if you wanted to. You could say the ln of x to the 1/2 minus ln of y squared plus z, plus ln of z. And see, if I took that minus through, it would distribute and make both those negative like they are up there. But when I factor it out, there's that plus sign. So they both have to be in the bottom. And actually, they're both getting multiplied together in the bottom. So that's just another way to look at that one.
Okay, shouldn't the x to the 1/2, shouldn't that just be squared? Not squared up.
Square rooted?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I could rewrite it like this if I wanted to. I could say the ln of the square root of x on top over y squared z. Either way it'll work. Just one's in rational form, one's in radical form. Okay. Take a look at 15. Okay. 13, we condensed it. We made it 1 piece, whichever way you like it best. 15, we're going to take 1 piece and we're going to spread it out and make it look like this. So the first thing I always do when I have a problem like this is I look at how many pieces I've got. I got a 2, I got an A, I got a C, and I got a D. That tells me I'm going to have 4 terms in this problem. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say log base 2 of 2 plus log base 2 of A plus, that's a horrible A, log base 2 of C minus log base 2 of the square root of D. But now here's the thing. When we're doing this, if there's just a number, you need to see if you can condense it down. And that's like to the first power, even though we don't write it. And remember, the log, the base, if the base and the argument are the same, whatever the exponent is, that's your answer. So this is going to become a 1 plus log base 2 of A. There's really nothing going on with that, so it's done. Plus log base 2 of C. That's done also. Now here's where we got some issues. The square root of D is the same thing as d to the 1/2. So what I'm going to do here, because I don't want anything working on my letter that's in there, I'm going to take that 1/2 to the front and make it 1/2 log base 2 of Plano D. And that would be your answer to that. There's 4 terms. You got your 1, your A, your C, and your D term. So you've got 4 terms there, and it's all the way expanded out. All of your variables don't have any kind of powers on them. And like if this right here, if this had been like this number right here had been like a 3, this would have just stayed log base 2 of 3. But because they matched, I was able to reduce that down. But you can't always. Okay. 17. Let's take a look at 17. 17 is one of those U problems. I'm going to say U equals e to the x. So I'm going to end up with u squared minus 4u minus 5 equals 0. Put u at the front of both. Negative 5 times 1 gives me negative 5, adds up to give me negative 4. So u equals 5 and u equals negative 1. Now remember, at the very beginning, we said u was e to the x. So this is really, I'm going to replace that back with the e to the x, and I'm going to replace that back with the e to the x. Now, as soon as I see this, I know this guy cannot be an answer because e to the x cannot be negative. Only thing I have now is e to the x equals 5. I'm going to ln both sides because we want plain old x. I'm going to ln both sides. And my answer, the ln and the e undo each other. X equals the ln of 5. And that's your exact answer. You could type it in your calculator to find the decimal answer if they wanted it, but most of the time that's how they want it. So I did all the odd ones. Look at the even ones and tell me any of the even ones you would like to see me take a look at. And I'll be glad to do any of the even ones also. And guys, this is for a grade. I'm going to put a spot on Google Classroom for you to turn this in. And basically, you guys that are here, all you got to do is copy this down. I mean, this is like a freebie grade for you guys that show up. Watch the videos. So anyone like to see another one? Any of the evens?
Is all of it graded or just the odd?
Oh, all of it. Come on, Ryan. Good try. Anybody?
Could you do number 8, please?
Number 8. Number 8. This guy right here?
Yeah.
Okay. So whenever you're doing something like this, again, you want to find an x equals. That's your final thing you're trying for. I'm going to look at the left-hand side. It has a minus sign, so that means I can condense these two into that. I'm going to look at the right-hand side. They're both ln also. There's a plus in between them. So I'm going to condense these two into that. Now, once I have one ln on both sides or one log on both sides, as long as these two guys match, I can take their arguments and I can set them equal to each other. I distributed the 3 into this one. Again, I can make this 3 over 1 if I want, or 6x minus 3 over 1 if I want to. Cross multiply and finish it from there. Subtract 1x from both sides. Add 6 to both sides. And then 9 over 11 would be my answer. But the key is you got to make sure you condense the left side, condense the right side before you actually put them together.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Six is calculator. 2 is calculator. 10 is like 9. Actually, every other one is like the one before it, basically. So there's really nothing else you want me to do. If there's not, let me jump over here. And 7.5 is due tonight. Questions on 7.5. I know, Ryan, you said you had one.
Number 8.
Did you see what I did on number 8? I took the graph off.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
So it was problem 8, number 4.
problem 8. The formula for the transformation?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a look at this. It's up here right now. If I'm looking at this problem, here, my parent function is this guy right here before we did anything to it. So if I'm looking at this, my reflection, I'm just going to kind of walk through these as I do them. My reflection, I'm reflecting across the x-axis. That's what that minus sign does. My horizontal shift, I'm moving to the right, 5. That's what that tells me. And my vertical shift, I'm going down 4. So you good with all those? So now what we have to think about is the transformation. So we're thinking about the transformation. All we did in the going back and forth in the x direction is we just moved everything right. So my formula is all my x's. I'm just going to add a 5 to it. Let me write off here to the side, and then I'll type it in, make sure I'm right. So I'm just going to say x plus 5. And then the y part's really pretty easy. All you do with the y part is you ignore that stuff, and you put a y in its spot, and you say negative y minus 4. So if I come over here and I type this in, I'm going to have parentheses, x plus 5, and then negative y minus 4. And then you say a little prayer to the precalc gods. You hit submit. You say you're okay. And what did I do wrong? Negative. What did I do wrong? What is the formula for the transformation?
Should the x plus 5 have a
Oh,
parenthesis?
that's what it is. Yeah, I'm stupid. I knew it looked funky. I couldn't figure out what I did wrong. Isn't it weird how you can look at it and see it and you don't even realize it? It still didn't like it. What did I do wrong now? I don't think that would do it. That's going to irritate me. Oh my gosh. Just see what I did? I'm going to have to fix that. I took a space out and it made it right. Ryan, I hope that's not what you were doing wrong. Because if it is, that means you were right the whole time.
Oh, God. Hang on, let me check.
Okay. Other ones on 7.5 while Ryan's looking at that.
The coordinates for the inverse part?
What now?
The coordinates for the inverse?
Like right here, this part down here?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at that.
Oh my God, it was the space.
I'm so sorry. I'll fix it. But hey, at least you're doing it right now.
Yeah, that's true. Thank
That
you.
still sucks though. Okay, so what we're going to do here, are you okay? Well, let me just kind of go through a couple of these. The first thing you have to find is your, in this case, f of x, but that's just coming up here. We're going to put a negative 2 in for x. So I'm just going to say 3 to the negative 2. The coordinates of point of g of x, if I take the negative 2 and put it in up here, I'm going to have negative 3 to the, I've got to put a negative 2 in right here, negative 7 minus 4. So basically, if my x is negative 2, x, f of x is like when I put if I'm trying to find the point for this guy. If they gave me negative 2, I got to find the y that goes with it. Then if they give me negative 2, I've got to find this y that goes with it. So now if I want the coordinates of the inverse, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this guy and my x, and they just flip-flop spots. So instead of the x being first, it's like you do yx instead of xy, because that's what happens when you do your inverse. Your y and your x's change places. So I'm going to say negative 3 to the negative 7 minus 4. And I'm hoping that's going to work. I hope I don't have the parentheses around that. I'm going to see what happens. It might fuss at me. I'm going to leave it and just see what happens right now. Comma, negative 2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit submit and see what happens. Why did I do wrong? Coordinate. Oh my gosh, I have to put the negative 2 comma. Let's see if that works for that one. Okay, I think it doesn't like, let me think here. I put parentheses around this guy. so what am I doing wrong? So if I take the negative,
Maybe
go ahead.
close the coordinate.
Oh my gosh, if that's it, I'm telling you what, this 1 o'clock stuff messes me up. I'm just taking a nap about now. I still didn't like that though. I close the coordinate over here. So I've got the -2 from right there. Let me come down here and try one of these before I come back up and figure it out. Because I don't know. I don't want to just be the typing wrong what I'm getting wrong. Let me come down here to the 0 one and try this. And then I'll go back up and I'll fix that one once I figure it out. So if I come up here and I put in 3 to the 0, 0 to any power is 1. And I bet you could type in 3 to the 0 and you'd be fine too. So the coordinates for my x would be 0, comma. I'm going to take the 0 and I'm going to plug it in up here. And I'm going to have -3. Maybe if I do it this way, -3 to the -5 minus 4. Let's see what that does for us. Because I know I did this the other day, and I did on one of the videos. It was okay. Okay, y'all help me out. What am I doing wrong? Coordinate of the points of g of x.
I have the exact same problem, so I don't know what you're doing.
I don't know. I don't even know how to do it the right way. So
-2.
What do you mean you don't even know how to do it the right way?
Your coordinates of the point, your x is not supposed to be -2. It's supposed to be 3 because you plug in the -2.
Oh my gosh. I'm a freaking idiot. Okay. Let's take a breath. If we were at school, I'd step out of the room right now and take a breath and count to 3, then come back and say, hello, my name is Pam Fouché, and I'm here to try to teach you calculus today.
Also, I don't think you need parentheses around your negative stuff.
I don't either. I think I'm an idiot. Okay. So what we're going to do for this column right here, we are going to, let me get rid of these. We have to take this x and we have to put it in here. So I'm going to take the -2 to put it up here. -2 plus 5 is 3. Because I want the coordinates of g of x. I want the coordinates of the translation. And then so I've got my -2 in right there. My y value, I'm going to take the y value that I found, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to take it, and let me get rid of these. So here's my y value now. I'm going to say -3 to the -2, because that's my y value right here, minus 4. Let's say a prayer.
That's right.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay, so let me come down here and do this one then. Sorry, I was having a major brain fart. Here's what we're doing. These right here are your x's and your y's before you're doing anything to them. You're just taking these numbers and you're plugging them in up here. So like this one would be 3 to the -1. This one would be 3 to the 1, and this one would be 3 squared. I need to know whether or not you're okay with that first column.
I'm confused as to why 0 is just 1 instead of like 3.
Put in your calculator, 3 to the 0
Okay.
power. Anything to the 0 power is 1. And I bet you could come in here if you wanted to and put in 3 to the 0 power, and it would probably do it for you. But the deal is, I mean, 1's a lot easier to work with. So that's why I was just using. Anytime I have a 0 right there and it looks like this, I'm going to put a 1. So are you okay with where these come from? I'm just taking these numbers and 7 them in right here into this x.
Yes.
Okay. So now what we have to do is we have to take this x and this f of x through this formula. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say -1 plus 5. And I'm going to say 3 to the negative first power, and I'm going to plug it in right here for y. Negative, that's from the formula, 3 to the negative first power, that's my y I have right here, minus 4. And I hit submit, just to make sure I'm right. Okay? So once you kind of start seeing the pattern, it's easier to start rolling with it. These guys, once you get these right, have to go through the transformation to get our g of x. That's what we're doing here. So now if I put a 0 in, 0 plus 5, that's 5. And I'm going to put a 1 in. I'm going to say negative 1 minus 4. That's a negative 5. And again, I think I've told you before, I'm a big fan of always hitting submit. And then I'm going to put the 1 in. 1 plus 5 is 6. 3 to the first power is just 3. Y'all good with that? So I'm going to have negative 3 minus 4. That's a negative 7. And my last one, 2 into here. 2 plus 5. That's 7. 3 squared is 9. Negative 9 minus 4 is negative 13. Okay, Devin, I heard you say that you were really bad confused. Is that better?
Yeah, I got this one. But on number 1, how do you...
This right here, number 1? Or the problem number 1 up top?
At the very top.
Okay, let me finish up this inverse real quick and then I'll go to that one, okay? On this is super easy. All you have to do for this one is you're just going to take these answers, you're going to flip-flop them. I'm going to be lazy and come down here. Negative 13, comma 7. Negative 7, comma 6. Negative 5, comma 5. And I'm not going to do the rest of them because they're just flip-flopping. So whoever asked me about this, are you okay with that? Once you get this, that's just those two reversed. Okay. Okay with that? Sorry, I kind of went a roundabout way about that. One more time, just wrap this one up. These x's originally go into the parent function to get the y's. Then the xy pairs go through the formula transformation to get the g of x, to get the doing all this to it. Okay. Clear as mud?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go up to 1 then. Okay, Devin, what's your question on 1?
How do you get the range and the horizontal?
Okay, if we're talking about, I'm just going to do, I'll pick one. I'll pick this one, this guy right here. If we're talking about a problem like this, our domain is always an exponential function, negative infinity to infinity, always. Our range, we have to think about what this looks like. This usually starts like flat and goes up. There's nothing out front to change that, but that negative in there flips it like Beyonce. So now it's going to start up high and go flat like this. But it's still above the horizontal asymptote. Our horizontal asymptote is y equals 3. For our range,
I was just putting, like, for that one, I was just putting 3. I wasn't putting y equals.
yeah, you have to put the y equals. Well, let me say, I say that. Let's check that, make sure these are right first. What did I do wrong? There's that period instead of a stupid. Okay, now it's happy. Okay, now, above or below the horizontal asymptote, we know we're above because A is greater than 0. We're not flipping it underneath. Now our inverse, these two guys just flip-flop. Our domain becomes 3 to infinity. Our range becomes negative infinity to infinity. And our vertical asymptote, you just change the letter on the front. It becomes x equals 3. Okay. Okay, other ones?
What about number 3?
Number 3. This guy right here?
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to switch. I'm just going to make this a y. And I'm going to switch my x and my y. X equals 5e to the y minus 6 plus 2. Now I have to, once I switch the x and the y, I have to isolate the exponential term. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And I have totally isolated my e term, my exponential term. So to get rid of the e, we have to ln both sides. So I'm just going to ln this side. If I ln this side, the l and the e cancel out, and I'm left with, what have I done wrong here? That should be a y, shouldn't it? Y minus 6. So I'm going to have ln of x minus 2 over 5 plus 6 equals y, and that is our inverse. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to say ln. Remember, it's ln, guys, okay? It's not like in. Parentheses. On top, I have x minus 2. On the bottom, I have 5. Shoot fire. ln x minus 2, 5 plus, I don't know what I just did right there, plus 6. Okay, so there it's in there. If I can move my stuff out of the way or not. That was stupid. Okay, I'm just going to hit preview and see what happens. Submit. Okay, what did I do wrong? Let's see if I need to put parentheses. I'm telling you, I'm batting 1,000 today. If I got to put parentheses around all this. There you go. I said I put parentheses. I should have known that too. You always have to put parentheses around whatever the ln's working on. Any other ones, guys?
Number 5, please.
Number 5, okay. Okay, so we have to basically do all of our stuff here. Now, remember how if we are doing exponentials, our domain is always negative infinity to infinity, but when we flip-flop, our range becomes it. So I'm going to say negative infinity to infinity. That's my range. And then they wanted us to take the argument, set that equal to 0, and this is going to be my vertical asymptote. Now it says equation to determine. That's kind of weird. Equation to determine. 7 minus 5x equals 0. I don't know why it's not letting me do it. Yeah, I want to submit. I'm sure I do. Okay. So then, once I work it out, my vertical asymptote equation is x equals 7 over 5. And then my domain. On my domain here, I've got the 7/5. So basically, I know if I have this, it's positive, so I know it's going to be on the right-hand side. So I'm going to say parentheses, 7/5 to infinity. Why does it not like it? What's wrong with this? I knew it was going to be wrong because I knew that's what you guys would do. Here's what you have to remember. To determine this domain, you've got to take that 7 minus 5x. It has to be greater than 0. If I take and I divide both sides by negative 5, what happens to my inequality? Somebody make me happy.
This sign.
You switch it, yeah.
Yeah. So the two negatives cancel out. So I have this. So I end up being negative infinity to 7/5. Because x has to be less than 7/5, that's the biggest I can get it. I'm going to say negative infinity to 7/5. You really have to be careful with that. Okay. So again, for your equation to determine, you said equal to, and you get your vertical asymptote. But to get your domain, it has to be greater than. You have to be careful if you have a negative x value. Other ones? If there's no other ones, I'll stop it right here. We've been talking a long time today. It's 1:43. I will save this. I will post it, and then tonight at 6 p.m. there will be probably about 5 till 6. There will be a study session if you need it for 7-5. You have your review. Finish up your review. If you have questions on the review, you can ask me about the review there too. 7-5 is due tonight. The review is due tomorrow night. So I'll have a spot on Google Classroom for you to submit that. Okay. Anybody have any questions for me?
The review you want on paper, right?
What now? Either paper, yeah, paper or Cami, or if you want to, use something online thing that you can write on it, I'm fine with that. I don't care. Just however you want to upload, it's fine. Okay.
How many questions are on the test?
Between 12 and 15, I'm not sure. Basically, because after I got done with the class, I was going to look at it. Because we don't have an FRQ, sometimes we put a couple extras on there. So I've got to talk to Miss Keith and get that figured out. But it won't be more than 15. Anybody else? Glad to see you people are on here. Did y'all like it better at 1 o'clock?
Very much, yes.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to jump off here if nobody has any more questions. Okay, well, I will talk to you all later on. Have a good day, guys.
Have a good day.
Bye.